Hello, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. We are going to wait a few more minutes. Some people are still joining, and then we will start. I can see that some more people are joining the webinar. That's great to have you. Do not hesitate to share in the comment section in the chat where you are joining from, so we can know a bit more about you. And we are going to start in a few minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
I see we have some people from Italy. Hello, Ekel. So I think that we are ready to start. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. So today we are going to talk about our BSc in Business and Management. My name is Clément Margiota. I'm an admissions officer at Forwards College, and I'm joined by Hekel and Angela. We'll let them introduce themselves. Hekel, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Haikal Latif. I'm the head of business and management at Forward College. I'm based in the Berlin campus, so in the third year. I've this year I'm teaching strategy and industrial economics, but these are some of the classes that I have taught before in the last couple of years here at Forward. I bring a certain practical application of business and strategy into teaching and learning because that's something that I've been exposed to in my experience as well. So I'm happy to share more of that today.
Thank you very much. And we have Angela with us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angela. a final year student at Ford College. So I'm currently in Berlin, right behind me. And I'm studying the double bachelor's in management, business, and leadership. I'm Kenyan, and so far my favorite module has been entrepreneurship, which I learn at Ford. And in future, I hope to either get into consultancy or project management. And that's why I chose to study the double bachelor specifically in business at Ford. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about student life at Ford right after the webinar. So I'll hand the floor right back to Heiko.
Thank you very much, Angela. Well, before letting the microphone to Heiko, so in this webinar, we are going to see what makes Forwards College unique, and we will base our presentation on those 4 pillars. If you have any question during the presentation, do not hesitate to ask them in the chat, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. Hekel, would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah. So business and management is one of the programs that we offer at Forward College. The Forward is basically teaching the classes, teaching the modules, and making sure you get to making sure that you get the credits involved in order for you to become a graduate of UOL. But the curriculum that we have at for business and management is defined by the London School of Economics. The exams that we have are also administered and set by the London School of Economics, and that is why your degree will be accredited by the University of London. For the advantage of being at Forward instead of being at University of London, for example, is the fact that we have small class sizes taught in English. We have our flipped classroom approach, and we have a series of assessments and activities that we have on in the whole 9 months that you are taking the module in order to test your knowledge, in order to grow your knowledge, in order to have a better understanding of what it is that you need to pick up to be a successful business and management graduate. Okay, so very quickly, these are some of the fellows that we have at Forward, because we try to take the multidisciplinary approach. So when your courses, as we'll see later, how your courses are being designed is so that you get a little bit of knowledge from across the spectrum of the social sciences, of mathematics, of economics especially. So that's why our faculty that supports this represents that. Myself, and there's Dr. Pedro Senadias in Lisbon, who will be guiding you on your first steps of the journey. We're also supported by fellows who have vast industry experience or vast experience in teaching certain subjects, like Dr. Carvalho from who is based in Lisbon, who is teaching finance, and Yeni, who is teaching marketing management in Paris. And like I said, because we take the multidisciplinary approach as much as possible, that's why we also are supported by a cast of very, very experienced fellows in the fields of economics and mathematics, as you have seen there in the elective fellows. Okay, so in business and management, what we try to do is not just about the modules, right? It's not just about the subjects that you're going to take. Yes, you're going to graduate as business and management graduates from UOL, hopefully. But in the process of getting there, right, in the bigger scheme of things, what we try to do, what we are trying to impart on you, the knowledge that we're trying to impart on you is supposed to be useful skills and useful knowledge in which you can make good decisions when you are in a business and management environment after you graduate, right? So strategic decision making is a very, very important part of what we want you to be able to do. And of course, this doesn't mean that you have a you have a sixth sense or you have an instinct to making good decisions. No, but there is some kind of methodology that you can follow, data that you can assess, research that you can do, case studies that you can turn to that can help you understand the context in which you're making those decisions, because context is very important. Just like you're making your decision now, whether or not to come forward or what major you wish to take. And this is when we lean on knowledge that is already available out there, right? So that's why we have different theoretical approaches and different ideas that we try to throw in there to give you a more holistic point of view and hopefully slightly more creative point of view as well. And to be a successful business and management graduate, to be a successful businessman or management person, right, you would need to be able to understand what are the organization's goals that you are trying to achieve. Right? This is very, very important because you're only as effective as how the organization benefits from you. You could be a very effective person, you could be a very talented person, but if you are not able to plan and organize clearly and strategically, if you're not able to direct and control finances and resources, then it becomes difficult for the organization to benefit from all the experience. So this is putting all the ideas that you have, all the skills that you have gained, all the knowledge that you have, and refining them so that the output will be something that an organization will be able to take advantage of. So this is, of course, one aspect of being a business and management graduate, right? One aspect of which is to be able to understand the context that you're in, to make strategic decisions, to help with the organization and making sure the organization achieves its goals. But there are also skill sets that are related to being part of a business, to specific roles that can be played. So, for example, in finance and operations, right, there are specific skills that would put you in a good position in order to do the job well. And this also includes things like marketing, things like human resources, and so on. These are things that will help you to excel at whatever it is that you do. So we don't just provide the higher order thinking, the higher order skills that you need, but also more practical and pragmatic things which would allow you to hit the ground running when you start a job in 3 or 4 years from now. So those are the skills that that we would like you to have. So yes, so in our view, a business management graduate is a skills multiplier, right? Somebody who can do multiple roles, right, within a particular team, within a particular organization, with the multiple skill sets that you have, the multiple experiences that you have, the knowledge that you provide, right? And this allows you to be a solutions amplifier, right? You are able to solve problems at different scales, small problems, big problems, doesn't matter, but you are able to solve those problems and come up with solutions where you can take others along with you, right? To involve the skills of others, to involve the experience of others in order to find the best solution, again, for the organization or for the goal in which you're trying to achieve. And that's why we have, and that is where the leadership part comes in. So a business and management graduate has to be a dynamic leader in the process, because you need to manage these things. You need to manage people, and that's a big part of business, right? Managing people and making sure that people can be driven in a particular direction in order to meet the goals that you have for the day. Next slide. Okay, so these are there's an overview of some of the courses that you will be taking as part of this program. This is what we have right now for this year, right? So it's a snapshot of this year. I have to emphasize that not all of these are not fixed in any way, except for the year 1 modules, right? Which are your basic modules. Introduction to business management, principles of accounting, introduction to economics, statistics, and mathematics. So you can see the interdisciplinary approach there already, right? And in the second year, we try to go in depth more towards business and management, marketing, management concepts, managerial economics and financial management. And in the third year is when we try to give you that breadth of knowledge, the application of a lot of the things that you've gained in year one and year two. And in this year, in Berlin, we have strategy and entrepreneurship. And like I said, this is not necessarily in year two and year three, some of these modules do change, are updated or improved, right, according to what is available on the UOL menu of subjects, right? So we try to, as best as possible, include as many options that could be interesting for business and management graduates. So one more thing I would emphasize, that in year three, even though we only have two business and management specific modules on offer, you will not be just taking two modules, right? You will be allowed to take electives that come from the other programs as well, be it data science or politics or even economics. Next slide. So there are several learning outcomes that we try to, as I said, right, in a nutshell, these are some of the learning outcomes that we try to ensure that a business and management graduate can have, right? At the end of the day, you might forget about some of the things that you learned. You might forget about the specific theories that you have spent some years learning, but ultimately, we want to make sure that the knowledge that you have is useful for you, for your organization, for your careers. And this is why business fundamentals is that core grounding of what we would like you to have across the 3 years. So you're grounded in strong ideas around how business operates, around the business landscape, understanding the market, right? Understanding what kind of strategies could work with that market. So again, solutions oriented, right? What kind of solutions would be useful for your team or for your business to flourish? And this is balanced off with the idea of financial acumen, the idea of being able to budget and forecast and being able to analyze your finances, because that's all about the books, right? So if you were to create a business of your own, what would be your how would you approach this? And therefore, when you are coming out with your own project, your own ideas, or your own business, or as an entrepreneur, for example, right, economic theories and applications would be useful for you to try to develop a plan that can actually be workable, right? Or develop an experiment that you can go out into the market, try and sell a product or try and sell a service, and then yet still understand why it was successful, why it was not, so that you can improve in the next round, and that's how successful businesses work. They are constantly responding to the market. They're constantly responding to consumers, coming up with better products, coming up with better services, coming up with better price plans, so that they can remain engaging with their target audience. And that's why we have strategic planning and execution is very, very important in this case, right? You need to know what is the goal, what you're trying to do, and then how do we get there. And this is when you design, evaluate, or implement a particular plan in mind, right? And again, as I said, it's an idea, and sometimes things don't go well, things don't succeed, sometimes things do succeed. The question is why? Where did it go well? Where did it not go well? And how can we improve in the future? And this goes into the idea of operational excellence and data analysis for businesses. And that's why data analysis is a very, very important component today, because we have so many data sources, right? We are constantly giving our data away for people to use. That's why you accept all these cookies all the time, right? This is your data being offered to different websites, and they are using that, right? And businesses have all this information. So one of the skills that you will need to have is the ability to make decisions based on data, either from quantitative sources or qualitative sources of data, where we are actually conducting interviews, understanding survey information, understanding the feedback that you get from people in order to make the right decisions, or the best decisions that one can have. Right? So ultimately, even if starting your own business, being an entrepreneur is not something that appeals to you, it is a very important exercise in innovation. It is a very important exercise in how a business can succeed or can take off, right? So it doesn't mean that I'm not interested to being an entrepreneur. I just want to work in a company and I'll be very happy there. Yes, but you will need to put yourself in a position where you can innovate, where you can come up with different ideas, sometimes think outside the box, sometimes be able to look at the data and look at um, um, the missing pieces that nobody else sees, but you can understand because you're a forward graduate and because you have been well trained in business and management. Okay, so as I said, the degree comes from UOL, the assessments, the examinations are from UOL. But what's different at Forward is we have class sizes that don't exceed 15 students. And this is something that is very unique, especially in universities, because in the more traditional university setting, you have class sizes that can be in the hundreds of people in a lecture hall, which means that the contact time between you and your professor is very limited, and sometimes professors don't even know about you because they have too many students, right? So the only dealings they have with you is by looking at your exam papers at the end of the year. But at Forward, you have your professors with you in a very intimate level because there's 15 students in a class, and at the moment we have 2-hour seminars per week. So during these seminars, a professor will be able to know who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and might even be able to point you in the right direction, when you want to graduate later on and when you need to find somebody who can give you good advice and give you a good idea of what your future could be or where you could put your skills in better place. So in order to make sure that students are responsible for their learning, we have the flipped classroom approach, which is not a lecture tutorial style where I talk, you listen kind of thing. In a flipped classroom approach, students are expected to prepare for the classes. Your professors will be giving you the questions to think about or content that you need to consume so that you can have an active debate, or you are able to fulfill some of the activities that the professor has planned. So, for example, a debate, presentation, or even group work, right, which involves some form of presentation. So you should be able to apply a lot of the things that you're supposed to learn for the week. You could even be asking the right questions to your professors to clarify things that you don't understand. And in that sense, when you have this flipped classroom model, your friends could also be there to support your learning, right? By learning off one another, right? By filling in the blanks for you, right? And this is how you create this very vibrant academic environment where everybody is moving together to learn as much as possible. And as I said just now, right, we have this multidisciplinary classroom approach where we have just because you're a business and management student does not mean business and management modules are the only things that you take. I think this particular year we have some students taking development studies. I think maybe Angela can correct me there, but development studies in the politics and international relations department, and this is supposed to give them a open up their eyes to a more breadth of knowledge. Yeah. So it doesn't just end there. We also have beyond we have immersive experiences beyond the classroom as well, which includes research seminars in which we invite people from various backgrounds, either from other research institutions or professionals, to come and present on some of the things that they are doing, right? And on some interesting topics. It includes guest talks, career talks, some field trips that are organized, especially because you're going to be spending 3 years in 3 different cities. So these field trips are a very good way to learn more about the city that you're in, to have a better understanding of what is what is exciting about the city, things that you can learn beyond just the classroom. Next slide. Okay, so here's a small topic, right? A small idea of what could happen in a classroom, right, for business and management, right? So you can imagine I told you about the flipped classroom where we have some activities, right? This is an example of a potential activity that could happen there, and this is supposed to be in an entrepreneurship class. So I'm sure Angela will be able to effectively answer this question. But for the rest of you, right? The idea is very simple, right? It's the summer break, and Tim has been improving his family's secret chocolate sauce recipe. He's intending to commercialize this delicious recipe and begin his career as an entrepreneur. So this is an entrepreneurship topic, right? So there are several things that he could do. He could introduce this product to his friends to collect feedback. He could perform further research on his target market to understand what kind of chocolate recipes are, what kind of chocolate is people looking for, right, in the target market. What is the growing segment of chocolate in the market, and is his recipe going to meet that demand, or is it not going to? Should he then just develop a user profile for his target consumer so that they know, so that they're aware of what kind of person that might be interested in their chocolate? Is it a family? Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it somebody who does a lot of sports? Is it somebody who likes to watch movies? What is that, right? And the next thing he could do is develop a business plan to develop the strategy in the first place, right? So in this business plan, it includes where I'm going to sell the product, how I'm going to sell it, who I'm going to sell it to, how much I'm going to sell it for, how much money I plan to make, right? And whether or not I'm going to introduce more chocolate recipes, or is it just this one recipe that I'm going to have? And he could also make a purchase for his dream car in the anticipation of success. So don't worry about the first 4 steps. Just start to ideate or start to imagine himself as a very successful person already. I mean, yeah, this could happen, right? So there are 4 reasonable answers there and 1 out of the box answer, I would say, 1 creative and out of the box answer, right? So what do you think, right, could be a potential next step for Tim? So whatever your answers are, right, just give you a minute to think about it, right? It's not just about the answer that you have in your head. So the thing that we want you to do is not just to have an answer for 1, 2, 3, 4, but we want you to know exactly why you would choose one of the 4, what makes it a good idea, why it might be problematic, what kind of tools and resources would you need to actually perform one of these 1, 2, 3, 4 answers, basically, right? And what would you need to do in order to, what is the next step then, right? So for example, if I choose step number 1, I'm going to talk to my friends and have user feedback. Then what's next? And what's next? And what's next? And what's next? And so on. So these are the things that we would hopefully impart on you, and you would be able to do some fun exercises in order to put yourself in Tim's shoes. Next slide. So our business and management graduates in the last couple of years has done these, has established themselves in various sectors, including finance and banking, consultancy, various technology firms, and also many have entered the public sector. So or have become entrepreneurs or been part of startups and entrepreneurships as well, which tells you a lot about what a business and management graduate can do, right? It is definitely something that can be very broad, something that is very applicable across different sectors of the workplace, of the economy, and this is why it's very, very useful skills that you can and useful knowledge that you can gain. Next slide.
Angela, I think you can take over the microphone.
Thank you, Heiko. So yes, I will now talk about the student experience. And in case you just joined recently, my name is Angela. I'm a student ambassador here at Ford College, and I'm also a final year student doing the double bachelor's in business. And yeah, I'm currently in Berlin, which is right behind me. And yeah, I'll just begin to talk about the student experience. So, as Heiko explained, we have very small class sizes. So, for example, in my business class is about 10 of us. Usually the maximum is 15, which is super helpful, especially when you have queries. For example, if you have questions in accounting or economics, subjects that are very quantitative, it's super helpful and way more convenient than asking a question in a lecture room or a lecture hall of 100 students. As talked about before, we have the flipped classroom method, in which students are expected to study chapters before actually going into class. So obviously this encourages you to be an independent learner, which is what you would be expected to do in the workplace, and it's necessary for the real world. We also have application of real life examples. So in one of my favorite classes last year, which was marketing, we did a lot of these, kind of trying to see and compare how different global companies market themselves in different countries. So for example, I'm Kenyan, so I would talk about how Coke um brands themselves in Kenya and markets themselves in Kenya compared to my friend who's probably from Morocco, and how they've experienced Coke's marketing. So it's a really diverse environment in which we get to hear from students real life examples, which is really cool in business. We have a very diverse community, as I've talked about, and it's very helpful when learning about how different businesses operate in different parts of the world. We don't only have students from Europe, we have students from all over the world representing different continents. So it's a really fun and vibrant environment to be in, especially because these students come from different backgrounds and hold different values. So it's really interesting kind of getting to learn more about their backgrounds and hear from them. And generally, navigating a new culture. So this is part of the Ford experience, in which you navigate three different European countries. So you start in Portugal, then France, then Germany. So obviously this is super helpful when learning about different businesses and how they operate. And especially as a business student, you get to immerse yourself in the culture and learn how businesses operate in Lisbon versus in Paris versus in Berlin, based off the economic landscape. And it's a really good comparison to have, even just like experience wise and in the job market. It's something you can that can really differentiate yourself, that you can use to differentiate yourself when you're applying for jobs after Forward. So if we move on to the next slide, I will talk about next slide, please. Yes, the leadership program. This is actually one of my favorite programs here at Ford. So if you are doing the bachelor's plus or double bachelor's, you will have to do the leadership program, in which you will be divided into a team of about 4 to 5 students maximum. And this team will have students from different backgrounds, different programs. So one could be studying politics, business, economics, and in these groups or teams rather, you would be expected to do a project each year. So in first year, we would be involved in a project in social impact and sustainability. In second year, it would be more digital entrepreneurship related, so building on your tech skills, as obviously our world is becoming increasingly technologically led. And in third year, you'd be involved in a consulting project, in which you obviously will be in a new team and you would be expected to consult for a company. So it's really cool because you get that real world experience right before graduating university. And yeah, you truly get to see how to deal with stakeholders in the real world, and how what you've learned in the classroom, so the theories you've learned in the classroom, apply in the real world. Yes, next slide, please. So as you obviously all know, Forward journey begins in Lisbon, then we all move to Paris in second year, and then last year in Berlin. So we have dedicated learning centers in each of these cities. So first city, Lisbon, Our learning center is centrally located. It's very beautiful, as you can see in the picture, in Rua das Flores, and the journey begins there. Then we move on to Paris in Cité Universitaire Internationale, which is a very, very cool and dynamic space because it's not just Ford College that's located there. We have a bunch of colleges located in the Paris Learning Center, and there's a whole bunch of students who live around it. So it's really cool to be involved in vibrant activities in Paris, which I will get into in the next slides. And then finally Berlin right behind me, which is currently where I'm based. And we have the Cambridge Innovation Center in the picture, which is a co-working space in Berlin in which Ford is located in. So our journey begins in Lisbon in year one. So this is the view of from the learning center. It's in Baixo Chiado, right at the heart of Lisbon. It's super close to the river, super downtown. It's super vibrant. There's always tourists just walking in that area, trying to experience the vibrance of Portugal. There's usually sometimes I remember there used to be like musicians on the streets playing music. So that should just give you an idea of how vibrant the space was. If you move on to the next slide, we have our learning center, which is in Flores. It's a very cool learning center, I must say. As you can see, the class sizes are quite small and packed together just perfect for 15 students. Very beautiful as well because they have Portuguese designs on the wall, if you notice them. And we also have a patio in the learning center in which you can grab a coffee and just sit outside, enjoy the sun, especially during the summer when it's way sunnier. I must say the weather in Lisbon usually stays roughly the same the whole year. It's not as harsh. So it's a great environment to experience. Then we have Soriano, which is very close to Flores. It's also a very loved space because, as you can see, it's quite big. You can have lunch together in this space. There's usually free coffee, by the way, so it's a very beautiful space to not just study but also catch up with friends. And if you want to decompress, on the next slide we have the meditation room in which you can just nap or you could read a book in case you feel a bit overwhelmed. Yeah, it's a really cool space. It's great for meditation as well, hence the name meditation room. And we also have I think, yes, that's it for the Lisbon space. We also have a co-working space in Lisbon, which is right very close to the student residence called Gior in Benfica. So it's a space that all students at Ford can access from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day. And it's not just for working together or studying, but it's also used for small get-togethers. So for example, when I was in Lisbon, right before we broke off for the Christmas holidays, we had a very cute Christmas dinner here. If you'd like to host an intimate birthday dinner, it's also a really good location. And we'd use this space during peak exam season when we want to study as a group. So it's a very good and spacious environment. Next, we have the student residence. This is actually the space in which I stayed in when I was in Lisbon. Usually it's highly recommended because you have your own bathroom and then you can choose to have a shared kitchen or your own kitchen. I think, yes, if I remember correctly, Zior is about a 30 to 40 minutes commute from the learning center. So it's super convenient because you're not too far from school. I would say about 90% of students, when they join Ford, this is the accommodation that they choose. And I love this space a lot because it not only has Ford students, but it has students from all over the world. So it's not exclusively for Ford students. So you can make friends in Ford, but also make friends outside of Ford. So generally, as you can see from the vibes and the pictures, student life in Lisbon is very vibrant. The accommodation is about 20 to 30 minutes from the beach, so you could go surfing. They can play volleyball in the park, which is about a 2-minute walk from the residence. And in Lisbon, generally, we loved visiting parks. We loved going to the beach. It's super sunny, so most students love Lisbon and they choose it as a favorite city. So moving on to Paris, which was actually one of my favorites. Um, I mean, it speaks for itself. It's Paris. Everyone loves it. French is a beautiful language. I think what I loved most about being at Cité Universitaire is the fact that you're not just surrounded by Ford students, but you're surrounded by students from all over the world. As I mentioned before, it's a space in which different universities and colleges work in and have this, we share this space with them. There's also a cafeteria in which that has student prices, so you could grab lunch together there. We have amazing classrooms, small classroom sizes, just like in Lisbon. They're super intimate and comfortable as well for discussions. And my favorite part, another favorite part about studying in the Cité Universitaire is the library. It's incredibly big, incredibly beautiful. I remember studying there, and sometimes tourists used to come in just to take pictures of this library, which is super iconic. So it's a great study spot, especially if you prefer being in a silent area and probably prefer being around other students in order for you to focus. So yeah, and it's free for all residents who live in Cité Universitaire. So I usually highly recommend that students get an accommodation there just so you have free access to this library. We also had sports facilities at the Cité Universitaire. So if you commit to staying actively fit at Forward, you would love Paris because there's so many sports facilities at Cité. I mean, we had tennis, we had small rugby pitch. We also had a few running clubs being run by students at Cité Universitaire, which was really cool. This is one of the student residences in Paris. So as you can see, it already has that kind of Parisian vibe, really cozy. So highly recommend it. And generally speaking, student life in Paris is very vibrant. If you love museums, if you love exploring learning more about history in general, Paris is such a great location. Also, if you're an artist student, I would highly recommend it because you get to not only experience the academic side of Ford, but you can also do a quick trip to a museum, go on walks, go to the park. That's one of the photos from the River Seine. I remember during induction week we had a boat ride at the Seine, so it was really cool. So yeah, Paris in general is super vibrant, surrounded by loads and loads of students. So it's a great city to network. Then moving on to Berlin, which is where I'm at currently, right behind me. This is the Cambridge Innovation Center, which is at the heart of Berlin. So this is actually a co-working space in which different entrepreneurs and innovators work in. So what I love about Berlin is that you're now immersed into the real world of being surrounded by business people. And this is super important for business students, especially. So our learning center is located in this building. So it's really cool because you come from a business class and then you walk into the kitchen to get the free coffee that we have, and you get to interact with founders who are telling you about their businesses. I mean, it's such a cool space to network, to get to hear how real world theories translate into the classroom. And so yeah, it's a very convenient space, not far from the accommodation recommendations that Ford gives us, and generally people love it a lot. We also have the Venture Cafe, which is usually an event that's held every week in which founders come and do a quick 5 minute pitch of the business. So again, this is super key for business students and highly recommended because you get to see how entrepreneurs are doing it in real life and being able to lead businesses. So on the next slide, we have a student accommodation. So this is one of the options for students who live in Berlin. The good thing about Berlin and the accommodation options we have is that you can actually share an apartment with your friends here at Ford College. So it's super cool that you get to experience that in Berlin once you've obviously developed these friendships from Lisbon and Paris. And moving on to the next slide, finally, student life in Berlin is very vibrant. I mean, Berlin is like people's favorite city whenever I speak to them because it's the home of tech music. So if you love techno, you'd love Berlin. It's super vibrant. Being at CIC means that you have access to founders, to entrepreneurs, to business people who are literally applying what you learn in class in the real world. So you get access to a really, really great network of individuals. So generally, I would highly recommend Forward for that reason. But if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function and we will answer them after. And I'll just hand back to Clement.
Thank you very much, Angela. That was really nice to hear your own experience as a forward student. Maybe before we finish and we go back to your questions, a quick note on another topic that usually is of interest for you, students and families, our academic requirements. Well, actually, academic and entry requirements. We do accept different curriculum and high school diploma. You have a few examples on the slide. For example, for students doing the A levels, you need a minimum of ABB across 3 A levels, or minimum score of 35 out of 45 for the IB. But we also accept a lot of national curriculum. So, for example, I remember in the chat someone saying that they were from Italy. So we do accept the Italian esame di Stato, but also the French baccalaureate, the Spanish one, the German Abitur, and many others. So you can check our website for more details on the different curriculum that we accept and the minimum requirements for each diploma. Then the application process, how does it work? It's pretty easy. There is no fee to apply at Forwards College. It's directly on our website, so you have to create your personal area and then you follow the different sections. It's straightforward. There is one section that is more dedicated to your academics, so we are going to ask you to share your transcripts from the penultimate year, but also the final year if you already have some transcripts from final year. Actually, here in the slides mentioned that you need to give an English proficiency proof. If you are a student from an English-speaking country, or if your high school is done 100% in English, you don't need to send an English proficiency. And also, if it's not your case, you don't need to send the English proof when you submit the application. You can share this document later in the process. So feel free to submit the application without the English test, and if needed, you will be asked to provide it later in the process. Another part that we value a lot at Forwards College, because as you can see from what Heikel and Angela said, we are quite a unique institution, so we look for very specific profiles. And for that reason, we value a lot the extracurricular activities that our students do, and also your motivation. So there is a full section dedicated to what you are doing outside of the classroom. So you can just list them and explain a little bit more what you've been doing and what are the learnings from those experiences. And of course, what you could bring to Forwards College, to the Forwards College community, basically. If your application is deemed eligible, you will be invited to an interview. It's an admissions interview in English. It's approximately 30 minutes interview, and it will be with one of the admission officers at Forwards College. It's not really an evaluation. It's more another way for us to know you a bit better, to maybe go deeply, a bit more deeply in your extracurriculars, and also maybe see your motivation. But that's also a very good moment for you to ask all the questions you may have and concerns you can have regarding Forwards College, and we'll be super happy to help you. I really encourage you to also book a chat with one of our students. It's better if you do it before having the interview, because they can give you some tips on how to prepare for the interview. And when you book this chat, it's directly on our website. There is a tab called Chat with the Students. You click there and you just have to book. If you're interested in business and management, you could be related with Angela, actually, but we have other students. So I really recommend you to do it. And well, after the interview, the admissions committee meets, and we are usually pretty fast in sending you the final decision. Usually it's 2 weeks after the interview. Right. Oops. Yeah. Just wanted to remind some important dates. We are organizing an open day in Paris, actually 2 open days in Paris. One is coming pretty soon, in March, so March the 28th, and another one happening at the end of May. Everybody is welcome to this open day. You just need to register on our website, join our events. It's the name of the tab. You click there, you register. You can come with your family, of course. And I think this is a very good opportunity to well, first see the campus in Paris. This is the one you see on the picture, of course, but also meet with some students from Forwards College, from different programs, but we'll definitely have someone from business and management. But also meet some fellows, so the teachers, we call them the fellows at Forwards College, and Forwards College staff, including admissions officer that will be there to answer your questions. You will be able to test some of our classes and much more. So I really encourage you to come to the open day if you're available on these dates. I think this is it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them on the chat, and we will be super happy to help you with that. I don't see any questions in the chat. I don't know if Angela or Heiko see some, but I don't think so. I take this opportunity also to share with you our contact information. So this is the recruitment and admissions team at Forward. So here you see you have my email here. So do not hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. If your questions are coming later this evening or in the coming days, you can contact us on or by email, and we'll be very happy to help you also later if you want to arrange a call.
We
Yeah,
have
sure.
a
Go ahead.
question from someone.
Okay.
Someone asked, are there any specific subject requirements for the IB diploma?
Very good question. So for the business and management degree, we do ask for mathematics. So if you're doing the IB diploma and any others actually curriculum, you need to have mathematics. For the IB, it depends if you're doing standard level or high level, but usually around 5 out of 7 or 6 out of 7 is usually what we require in terms of mathematics. Thank you for this question. I don't know if Heikel wants to add anything to the presentation, or Angela.
I think we've gone in depth with everything, but I do highly recommend for students to book a conversation. It's kind of a great way for you to learn more about Ford College from a student's perspective. And if you also want to read more about Ford College specifically, the leadership program that I spoke about, there's a few articles on the student blog that students have written about their experiences at Ford or projects that they've been involved in. So I highly recommend you read those.
Great. Thank you so much, Angela. Well, if we don't have any additional questions, I think we can end this presentation. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you so much, Heikel, for your time and for telling a bit more about the degree in the business and management. Thank you, Angela, for sharing with us your experience at Forwards. And again, if you have more questions, do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you.